Thank you, Gina. I think we all really appreciated that. And now, to start this evening is an introduction to someone who really doesn't need to be introduced to this group, but I have to do it anyway. My dear friend and the founder and president of the World Business Academy, Rinaldo Brutoco. Rinaldo, as many of you know, created this amazing think tank, which has now become the action incubator that you sit in at this moment. We have been blessed by being given a focus on business being responsible for the whole. We are responsible for the whole, and Rinaldo Brutoco has shown that in his critical work over many, many years. It is his vision that we can have a global citizens club that will change our community and the world. It is his vision that we, as Santa Barbarans, become the first city in California to actually be a microgrid city. He's been talking about this for the 4 years that I've been involved in this organization, and I think today more than ever, his vision and his determination is obvious. So I would like to introduce you all to my friend, I guess my boss, and a truly remarkable soul, my friend, Rinaldo Brutoco.
You know, Judy, it takes a little of the spark out of when you say my boss. Everybody was believing you up until that point. So just a couple of quick things to launch off. First of all, this is a joint venture with the El Encanto and the Academy. We actually created this about 3-4 months ago. We started talking about a year ago. And it was a sad fortuity that the launch month was today. This is our first launch meeting of what we hope will be second one, yeah. But it's in the context of the Montecito. And the question that arose for this activity was, you've heard the adage, think globally, act locally. And I want to thank Michael Weitzman back there somewhere, because I thought your poster was coming tonight and it didn't get here, but it'll be here next time, or about the New Athens. And I gave a speech that Michael liked on the New Athens, we can be like the New Athens in the age of Pericles. And how you do that is when God gives you lemons, you make lemonade. So we've had a whole lot of lemons dropped on us, boulder-sized lemons. And the idea for tonight was to see if we could stimulate a conversation which will go on in the months to follow. The ground rules for belonging to this club, the Global Citizens Club is what we're calling it, is very simple. If you donate $300 a year to any one of the affiliated nonprofits in town, welcome. Not only do you get to come to these meetings, which we'd love to have you come to, you'll get significant discounts, 15% on all your food and beverage here at the El Encanto, spa discounts, and other reasons to be grateful, because the El Encanto wants to demonstrate that it's grateful that you're giving to your community and you're engaged. So you don't have to belong to the Academy. You can belong to Human Rights Watch, which is one of our affiliated charities. You can belong to Gina's group, SBRN, and a number of others that have already decided to join with us. And our goal doing this is to make it so that everybody who cares enough to do a little bit financially for this, whatever charity they like here, whatever nonprofit, we have a lot of great nonprofits in this town. You can come to this meeting and you can become this new class of global citizens, these people who want to be like Athens in the age of Pericles, the golden age of Athens. And to do that, we have to tackle all of our local challenges. I'm sorry, I've been a friend of Das for many years, and I only want to beg to differ with one thing he said. There will never be a fossil fuel peaker plant in Santa Barbara, California, period. Count on it. It won't exist. My good friend and partner, Craig Lewis, and I fought off the one in Puente with a remarkable victory. If you haven't heard this one, this is the first time I've ever heard in the state of California where the State Energy Commission basically vetoed the PUC and said, no, you won't put that peaker plant back in Oxnard, which, as some of you know, we've been fighting for 3.5 years. We won the Elwood peaker plant case at the PUC about 2 months earlier. So we're not going to sleep. 4 years ago, we did a thing, and if anybody wants to see this, there's a really 20-minute TED Talk I did in Sacramento not too long ago, last November, on the California Moonshot Initiative, which is simply this. We can get to 100% green energy in the state of California within 10 years or less at no additional cost to the ratepayers. Pretty simple. All we have to do is choose to get there. In response, in furtherance of that plan, we took on 3 things that we think as local citizens we had to stop. One, our neighbors in Oxnard, who are being forced to put a 35-year fossil fuel plant on their beach, and as many of you came down in buses to Oxnard to testify at that hearing, and my personal testimony was, you wouldn't do that to where the white people live. Because Oxnard is a 73% community of color. You just wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do it in Santa Barbara, you wouldn't do it in Ventura. We were able to, after a period of 3.5 years of fighting that for the people in Oxnard, that peaker plant has been stopped. The peaker plant in Elwood, which is one of the least fortunate areas financially in the Santa Barbara area, that peaker plant has been stopped permanently. And no peaker plant is going to be built because it's insane. It is more expensive. It makes no sense environmentally. It's inconsistent, as Doss said, with our values. And so tonight we thought, okay, we got these boulder-sized lemons. What's the lemonade? And the lemonade I hope you're going to enjoy hearing about tonight is if we choose to rebuild Montecito the way we would have built it if the town was in the year 1950, 1910, we'll make all the same mistakes that that era created. Or we can choose to rebuild Montecito, the people of Montecito, in something that looks like 2018 and beyond. So what you're going to hear tonight, particularly when I introduce Craig in a few moments, you're going to be hearing about our blueprint, and you're going to see it up on a board, for how we can create more energy locally than we possibly could use. Doss used a statistic. He said 250 megawatts. He said 95 megawatts. We've given a plan to the PUC to produce 250 megawatts. And that happens to be equal to all of the energy we consume at the peak demand between the cities of Ventura and Goleta. And as it turns out, it's not tough. And as the Energy Commission recently observed, with that much photovoltaic and storage, which is economically viable today, you don't need peaker plants. And you have something that is what we've been talking about now for 3 years, Santa Barbara, renewable, resilient, and reliable. We should not be in a situation, and I thought that we're going to have a graphic that actually, we'll pass it out to you later. Anybody who wants the video, let us know at the Academy. We'll get it for you on what the moonshot is. We'll also be happy to show you the graphic. And Montecito is facing an enormous challenge. How will it get mortgages to rebuild in the areas that are designated as red, which is a zone that's going to be very difficult to get a mortgage in, but even the yellow zones, which really aren't about people dying. It's about, are you going to lose your electricity if there's another event? Are you going to lose your water or your power or your, et cetera? And so what we want to do is tackle these issues and demonstrate that you can actually create a community, Montecito, Santa Barbara, which creates all of its own energy and uses it locally and will have it available whenever the crisis strikes. Remember, all of us are now still living under the threat of those main transmission lines that bring those 250 megawatts to us. Those transmission lines will go down. Edison says so and they own them. You should take them at their word. We've been speaking to this issue for 3 years. It's time for us to realize we need to get resilient. So I'd like to just close with this thought before I introduce our first speaker. And the thought is this. If you look at the possibilities that are in front of us today, and you say, gee, could we rebuild not just Montecito, but create a prototype, a template of what it would look if we did it right? What would it look like? Then all of a sudden it starts to create other avenues and possibilities and opportunities. I've had conversations with the president of the PUC directly in his office about the fact that we should have an exemption in Santa Barbara because we are the most dangerously poised community in California for an instantaneous cutoff of electricity. And all of you remember what happened the first days of the fire when we kept losing power. So I'd like to just share with you that the World Business Academy, now in its 30th year, is happy to think globally, because most of our stuff happens around the world, but to act locally and to convene these meetings with each of all of you. And I'm hopeful that what we're going to end up seeing is an engagement of citizens, people, who say, you know what, if not me, who? And if not now, when? And with that, if we can take that attitude, I believe we'll be able to reconstruct not just what we had, but something far better. The city of Irvine had a minor crisis, used the opportunity to put in a gray water system. So today, there's a dual pipeline in Irvine. One is the black water, so-called, and one is gray water, your shower, your dishwasher, your sinks. And that's how they water their plants. We're not going to talk about the gray water system that's possible today, but that gray water system would be underground, which should not have been affected by what just happened, particularly if we build. Number two, an electrical system, which doesn't have to be up in the air. Look at Puerto Rico. If they rebuild the system they just had, it's going to blow down in the next hurricane, and one's coming. So let's use this opportunity to rethink, if we're as smart as we think we are, and we certainly have the resources, is there a way to do this where we can rely on each other and create something better than existed before all these lemons hit us? That, to me, would be lemonade. So thank you for coming tonight. And next month, the issue we're going to be tackling, tell your friends, is what to do about retail on Coast Village Road in downtown Santa Barbara. That's going to be next month. Now, a copy of this video will be available for free. We're intentionally cutting it, so many people who couldn't be here tonight will have an opportunity to share what you will share. We're going to have a panel discussion following the presentations, so please jump in. This is a bilateral process.